in the original Arthurian stories, at one point Mordred does abduct Guinevere, but this is long after the whole Lancelot and Guinevere and all that stuff. Like, it's kind of after all that stuff when Arthur then has to actually chase Lancelot on the continent in revenge, and he, depending what version you're reading, because like the earlier, before there was any like concern with like Lancelot or anything in those stories, Arthur goes onto the continent because he's going to fight the Roman emperor and essentially conquer Rome. I mean, you get into this whole kind of insane idea that like, oh, Arthur can actually just like take over the Roman Empire. Why not?
Yeah.
So, but because he
Dream big.
Exactly. So because he's away on the continent, Mordred usurps Arthur's position, even though he was supposed to be left there as sort of a steward, and abducts Guinevere and tries to force her to be his queen. Which, then you're getting into sovereignty stories of like, well, why does he have to force Guinevere to be his queen in order to become king? Well, now you're getting into ideas about like, did the queen represent a sort of the land that the king marries, right? And you can actually get into like really, really ancient stuff connected to the Celts where like a woman actually represents sovereignty and the sovereignty of the land. And so when you marry this queen, you are marrying the land, right? That's a very, very ancient theme. I can find that in like Greek texts about, the colony of Massalia, which is now modern Marseille. Ancient stories about that, and essentially like women offering cups and stuff. There's a book called like Lady with a Meat Cup and whatnot.
That's how I got this house.
I mean, kind of. So Mordred abducting Guinevere is also him abducting the land. If you get into that whole idea of like the king and the land are one, but also the queen is also the embodiment of the land that is married to the king, right? I mean, then you're getting it like you could think of it in like a pagan sovereignty way, but also you could think of it in like a Christian way of like the church is the bride of Christ and all the same sort of thing, right? Like, it's all kind of parallel thinking. So Mordred abducts the queen, but what I find interesting here is, unlike the medieval versions of the Arthur story where Mordred abducts the queen in order to usurp the entire kingdom because he is Arthur's only living heir. And he knows that he'll never get the kingdom through any sort of, biological right. The only way he could assert his, inheritance is through violence. Because we're not doing that, instead he abducts her basically just to force to force King Arthur to give up Northumbria, which is kind of a funny idea. Like, yeah, we're not going to try to take the whole kingdom from you in exchange for getting your queen back. We just want this big chunk.
Yeah. We'll take Texas.
Yeah, essentially. So the queen's been abducted and Lancelot, has to go and rescue her. And so what he does is he sees a guy on a cart riding towards the castle of King Pell. And says to the guy, essentially, look, I got to kind of borrow your cart here in order to get into the castle. And the guy's kind of like, well, okay. I mean, I support King Arthur. That's fine. And then next thing you know, Lancelot is like stealing his clothes and disguising himself and getting into the castle.
He's not pleased about it later.
No.
The guy.
But again, this is kind of what I like is that, as you pointed out, because these were, blacklisted writers and stuff, they immediately go to Lancelot is putting a huge problem on the shoulders of this poor carter.
Yeah.
Like his entire livelihood has been abducted and taken into this this castle. And like, he's like, well, what the heck am I supposed to do? You just took my entire job away from me.
My clothes.
All his clothes, everything. He's just like, I'm stuck outside and I basically, I'm kind of screwed here, man.
Yeah, man.